Today on the track that they call Monaco without the boats, London. Here's the track on the outskirts, 12 miles northeast to the capital, 2.7 miles long, 2 DRS zones along the main straight and down towards turn 2. There are 14 corners. You're never on full throttle for long here. Only first has changed and Pirelli have reduced the tyre pressures for this week. It's the same compounds that we had in Austria. The medium, half a second slower per lap. The hard tyre, 0.8 of a second slower per lap. The wets and the intermediates are standing by. Kravitz, are you looking to the skies or into the garages at the moment?
Very much to the skies, because to the south of the circuit there are two big splodges of precipitation, rain clouds coming in, so they do need to get on with it. So anyone who's not going out in the next 30 seconds or so isn't getting the right idea. I can see Esteban Ocon still in the garage, Daniel Ricciardo still in the garage, and some further down the field as well. But all the top three teams are out because the rain is coming.
And that's a really good example of how turbulent the air is on a dry day when you don't have the benefit of the moisture to show you.
So the gamble that Renault are taking here and keeping Ricciardo and Ocon back in the garage for a while is that shortly the track conditions will improve because there's more rubber laid down, there's more grip, and the cars can go that much faster. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen, first man out on the track to be going for a real flying lap here. Lewis Hamilton has just gone 1/10 of a second quicker through the first sector, and we look to see Hamilton's teammate Valtteri Bottas. And Valtteri Bottas not putting in at the fastest first sector, just 1/10 of a second off his teammate.
Traffic will get completely out of his way. 2 corners to go, but you can still lose a lot of time. The front, you've got to be a bit patient through the exit and then absolutely through. The line comes up quite quickly. And Verstappen then with the 16.1, not too shabby.
Fastest Q1 time last year was by Max Verstappen. It was a 1:15.8. A 1:15.5 for Lewis Hamilton as he crosses the line to go quickest overall. Valtteri Bottas with the fastest middle sector pips his teammates to the fastest time so far by about 1/10 of a second. A lot of attention, a lot of focus here on Racing Point, who could well be the nearest challengers to Mercedes, and Stroll puts that Racing Point up into third. He's never got into Q3 here before, and you have to go back to 2013 for the last time his teammate Sergio Perez got into Q3 here. Perez will be crossing the line and goes 4th fastest. So the Racing Point's looking racing in these early stages.
And 6th and 7th for Red Bull right now. Their hearts will be sinking a bit. Work to do.
And 7th for Sebastian Vettel, who goes ahead of Alexander Albon. Track limits deletion for Antonio Giovinazzi as he goes a little wide at turn 4, and the FIA absolutely rigorous in their examination as Esteban Ocon and Daniel Ricciardo finally get onto the track, and everyone running the soft compound tyre which you would expect in this Q1 session. So Kimi Raikkonen goes 14th. Ocon's got to be a little bit careful here because there's bits of light rain now falling on the pit straight, and this short straight runs parallel to it before the final corner, that the right-hand hairpin, and on that pit straight there'll be bits of light rain falling. It's not going to cause him too many problems at the moment, and he goes 8th fastest. But those that have got out early have done very well indeed to avoid the rain that is coming in. Ricciardo only 12th fastest.
I think he'd be very disappointed with that, will Daniel Ricciardo, as we see Lewis Hamilton going again with a mighty middle sector. So a very short run to the back end of the car, trying to step out through the final turn. Here comes the line. Hamilton 15.4, 0.06 of a second faster than Bottas, and that's the kind of gap we're expecting between these two.
Yeah, if it is to be a straight Mercedes scrap, the good news is there is little or no difference between the two Mercedes drivers. Bottas, the championship leader, Hamilton currently in second place, as George Russell, who finished P14 in practice this morning, goes 12th fastest in his Williams, and he only missed out on Q2 here by a few hundredths last year. Charles Leclerc 5th fastest for himself. His teammate Sebastian Vettel down in 11th fastest, where Ferrari have had a car in qualifying for the first 2 races. There's Vettel crossing the line. He goes 7th fastest overall. And we look now to Lando Norris, 3rd on the grid for the first race. He goes ahead of the 2 Ferraris and ahead of his teammate Carlos Sainz, so he leads in the teammate qualifying head-to-head battle by 12 races to 11. It couldn't be much tighter between those 2 McLaren drivers.
Cars, whilst they look like they're on super glue, they're actually at all times sliding to an extent.
As we see Esteban Ocon through the corners, yeah. Sebastian Vettel wiping few spots of rain off his visor.
That's what I was talking about earlier on, Crofty, where you get a little bit of just fine rain and it streams off your visor and gives you the impression it's raining harder than it is.
Something with these Mercedes engines this year that is cool.
Yeah, it seems like you're a little bit late getting out. Got any reason for that? You've got the 17.6, the 17.7 in, but what do you think? Where's your potential? Can he get into 16?
He should be in theory, but I don't know why the first lap was like this. We haven't looked into it properly yet, but we waited intention a little bit longer, so it's a little bit less traffic out there, and the rain doesn't seem to be coming. It will be coming, obviously, but not right now, so hopefully we can get the lap in and dry.
Right, we're on board with Kevin Magnussen now. We'll let you settle back on the pit wall and watch him whilst we watch him a little bit as well, and suffering just a few twitchy moments coming out of turn 1.
Turn 2 is all downhill through this section. Turn 3 easily flat out now. 4, you don't really want that car there, but flick right over the blind crest, touch the inside curve.
We just have no stability at all in low speed. Turn 1, turn 2 is just terrible. I have a problem with the power unit. Okay, I have a big problem.
Oh dear, he's had big problems all weekend long with that power unit. It was a sensor that cost him any running, and a 4 second up on a time that he needs. Williams this year have improved to the extent now that they probably feel they're above Alfa Romeo in terms of pace. Certainly on a Saturday, Nicholas Latifi is improving too, but not by as much as his teammate George Russell, finding the grip and finding the line. And look at that, massive 6/10 up now on the time he needs to get out of the bottom 5.
Got a lovely style. He's a Jenson Button-like with his steering wheel. One sweep in with accuracy and then one sweep out. And an F1 car likes that.
And I dare say Claire Williams, who celebrates her birthday on Tuesday, might just like this lap time as George Russell goes 3rd fastest. That's a big improvement, and that also indicates the track's improving quite a lot, but not for Kimi Räikkönen. Only 17th fastest at the moment. He's going out of qualifying as Nicholas Latifi will be next to cross the line. His teammate's gone 3rd fastest. Latifi goes 7th fastest.
Wow. And Perez is on a mighty lap as well out there, and goes fastest on a 1:14. And what's going on now?
So the track, I think, is improving a lot here, Ted Kravitz. So for Alex Albon, he needs to get out there.
He is out there. He is out there. They didn't make any changes to the car. Just put new tyres on. He's going out again. Both Mercedes are going out. Hamilton and Bottas are going out on the same set of tyres, which they set their first run. Verstappen has put a new set of tyres on. So nervous, still nerves at Red Bull Racing. Now that the Pink Panthers, the Racing Point, are indeed in front of them.
That is a lap. Too right, George Russell. So at the moment, Esteban Ocon's at risk. Alex Albon's in the bottom 5. Verstappen's going out again because he's probably at risk in 10th fastest at the moment as well. Sergio Perez has gone quickest of all. He's probably the track, I think, is improving a lot here, Ted Kravitz. So for Alex Albon, he needs to get out there.
He is out there. He is out there. They didn't make any changes to the car. Just put new tyres on. He's going out again. Both Mercedes are going out. Hamilton and Bottas are going out on the same set of tyres, which they set their first run. Verstappen has put a new set of tyres on. So nervous, still nerves at Red Bull Racing. Now that the Pink Panthers, the Racing Point, are indeed in front of them.
That is a lap. Too right, George Russell. So at the moment, Esteban Ocon's at risk. Alex Albon's in the bottom 5. Verstappen's going out again because he's probably at risk in 10th fastest at the moment as well. Sergio Perez has gone quickest of all. He's probably the only one out there who doesn't feel that he's at risk. His teammate Lance Stroll is 2/10 down on him, and we've got 1 minute and 50 seconds to go of a qualifying session, Martin, where the track temperature might just have dropped a little bit and the conditions have ramped up so that everyone can expect a big boost in pace.
Yeah, that's
for Ferrari or Sebastian Vettel if he gets knocked out in Q1 here. Alex Albon was up through the first sector. George Russell's going for it again. Sebastian Vettel really is not improving too much. This is his best times, obviously, but he's not going to do much to trouble the top 5 as it stands at the moment. Verstappen keeps out of his way, and he's got 30 seconds to make it to the line to start his final flying lap, as Leclerc does that now, and Vettel comes round the final corner. He does go 4th fastest. So relief. Worry over maybe for Ferrari there. Albon goes 7th fastest. That'll certainly help him. Verstappen makes it to the line by about 15 seconds to spare to start his final flying lap, and he's down in 12th fastest at the moment. Pressure is on these drivers. One mistake could be really costly. Kimi Raikkonen doesn't get out of the bottom 5. He's out of qualifying in Q1 for the 4th race in succession. Lando Norris goes 4th fastest. His teammate Carlos Sainz beats him by hundredths of a second as Antonio Giovinazzi suffering throughout this qualifying after having to back off on his first flying lap. Only 18th fastest. Danny Kvyat's at risk. He's on the cusp of relegation at the moment, and Esteban Ocon, next man to cross the line, could be the one to do it. He does. Relegates Kvyat down into the bottom 5. He goes 9th fastest, Ocon.
And Verstappen needs to get this lap in now that he's on. He's not anywhere near a personal best first sector, but Verstappen is on the bubble.
He might just be safe here because those that are below him have just failed Kevin Magnussen by 16 thousandths of a second to dislodge him from the Q2 places.
Yeah, and his middle sector is a personal best, but wow, that is track evolution with a capital E. Extraordinary.
Verstappen's going to finish off this lap just to make sure crosses the line, goes 8th fastest, but Williams have 2 drivers through into Q2. And I'm going to research my stats here because that's the first time in a long while we've had 2 Williams drivers in Q2. George Russell and Nicholas Latifi both making it out of Q1 at the expense of the 2 Haas drivers, and Kevin Magnussen was but 16 thousandths of a second away from safety. Danny Kvyat, who's been out-qualified by Pierre Gasly again. And that man there, Sergio Perez, the fastest driver in the first part of qualifying. He hasn't reached Q3 here since 2013. On this evidence, Martin, it'd be a major shock if he doesn't reach Q3 today. It'd be an even bigger shock if both Ferrari cars get into Q3. It's through the twisty-turny middle sector and definitely backed off in that middle sector.
Could be a 3-place grid drop if they perceive that Sainz blocked Giovinazzi.
For what will, of course, be the second successive weekend that McLaren have had a 3-place grid drop, because Lando Norris overtook on the yellows in the Syrian Grand Prix practice and got his penalty as a result.
Yep, formation flying then from McLaren. I mean, will the track keep evolving at that rate? Will the rain stay off? Well, which tyres will they want to try and get through to Q3 on and therefore start the race? It's quite clear that Red Bull, soft, Ferrari, soft, Ferrari, second Ferrari there of Charles Leclerc, soft. Same with Albon, I think, out the back. We look really to Mercedes and Racing Point, who are the only 2 teams that may have enough raw performance to put the medium compound tyres on.
This time last year, Ted Kravitz, Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari, 6 cars reached Q3 on the medium tyre. Can't see that happening today.
No, but it is the Mercedes and the Racing Point come out of the pit lane with the yellow tyres, the harder tyres that give them an advantage perhaps in the strategy starting the race on that harder tyre.
Here is Valtteri Bottas, the man who we would hope would make way for him eventually to get to the Mercedes seat, just makes way on the track for Russell to come past. It's a 1:15.6 for George Russell. It's only a tenth of a second outside his best time from Q1. Meanwhile, on the medium compound tyre, as you can see, Lance Stroll going significantly faster because he set 2 purple sectors.
This is slightly bizarre, isn't it? Well, let's let this lap finish and I'll explain why I think it's bizarre. As Stroll goes on a 15.2. Of course, he did a 14.9 on soft tyres in Q1, so that's about right, isn't it? About right with a bit of extra power. But, you know, Racing Point have openly copied last year's Mercedes. And then, of course, they use Mercedes running gear as well. They buy it from them. And here they are challenging them. It's...
Makes you wonder why Mercedes bothered designing a brand new car. 1:15.2 for Lando Norris as he goes fastest. Carlos Sainz with a 1:15.2 as well, 600ths off his teammate.
Yeah, great. So McLaren, that's just spoiled the concept a little bit. But of course, Racing Point just need to clear the top 10 here.
That's right.
But that I strongly suspect will now be a challenge as Hamilton sets a whole new benchmark.
Just when I say it makes you wonder why Mercedes bother designing a brand new car, Lewis Hamilton shows why they do that. With a 1:14.2, same tyres as the two Racing Points. He goes a second faster. Vettel's right up there with a 1:15.1. You just wonder, can Racing Point get in to Q3 on those medium tyres, or are they going to have to go again on a set of softs, I wonder?
I'm steering a lot in the medium speed. So I don't know what's going on with the tires.
Verstappen's got a car that basically the feel changes lap to lap.
It does seem a bit like a lucky dip every lap, doesn't it? Like it's a very knife-edgy sort of package at the moment. I suspect there's an incredibly fast car in that Red Bull and just got to extract it and give the drivers the consistency they need.
Still looking at Alex Albon's front wing and the underside of that front wing. And whether it's had a bit of damage because it's gone over a curb or stones chipped it or something, I don't know.
I suspect it's had a little bit of a nibble of the curb on the outside of turn 4.
Styrian Grand Prix, their first classified double DNF since 2017 when they were involved in the first corner crash, and they were involved in a third corner crash in Styria last week, of course. Now, why is the Renault of Esteban Ocon stopped? He couldn't get out of the garage properly, could he?
They have hopeless steering lock on these cars.
But these garages are really tight as well, so he's got to, he can't start steering until the whole car is beyond. Look how close and narrow it is there.
Yeah, with the extreme geometry that run on the steering and such fat front tyres, you can't get enough steering lock on to miss the wall sometimes.
So Daniel Ricciardo just had to let Pierre Gasly out as well and had to wait a bit, but Esteban Ocon was definitely rather stranded in the pit lane, but he's out on track now, and he needs to get out of the bottom 5, and he's on the soft compound tyre to try and do so. And Perez is on his outlap, Stroll's on his outlap, so they're definitely coming
on
out
mediums.
On the mediums again.
I believe they're out on medium tyres,
well,
so they think they can go fast enough to get themselves into Q3 on a set of mediums.
And, you know,
bold, impressive.
Applaud the boldness here in a sport that we always think everyone takes a risk in Formula One, but the teams can be so risk averse from time to time. Martin, brilliant. Go and take a risk, and if it pays off, well done you on that one.
Yeah, so they've obviously got some quali modes they can put into it as well, but the problem they've got is somebody like the Renaults on the softs hooking up some great laps, and we don't know where the track's going to be at, judging by Q1. Who have they got behind them at the moment? They've got Gasly struggling a bit, Ricciardo, Leclerc, Albon. There's 3 drivers, Ocon, 4 drivers behind them that could spoil their day, have Racing Point.
Lando Norris at the moment 5th fastest, and he qualified 3rd on the grid, of course, for the season area should he needs it. Look at this, Perez not improving on the medium compound tyre. Sainz didn't improve in the first sector, did in the middle sector. Norris has improved on both sectors and goes 3rd fastest ahead of Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen. P3 for Lando Norris. Here then comes Sergio Perez, crosses the line, stays 8th fastest.
Horrible lap.
Not what he was looking for at all. Well, he's not improved in either sector. But looking at the lap times here, Alex Albon stays 13th. He qualified 10th here in the Toro Rosso last year, 12th I should say, in the Toro Rosso last year, finished 10th and qualifies 13th for Red Bull today.
Well, respect then to Racing Point. They rolled the dice, took the risk. Perez didn't get the lap in, but thankfully for them, the Renaults just didn't deliver, and nor has Alex Albon in the second Red Bull, and they will start the race on the medium compound tyre. Phew.
So they got what they wanted. Pierre Gasly did get into the top 10.
Sorry guys, but I told you, just don't put me in traffic and
Yeah, copy Alex, we would discuss back here.
That's a public criticism for the team, and when they sent him out onto the track, and he feels he was sent out onto the track, Martin, amidst a whole host of cars, and there was absolutely no way that he could improve. Pierre Gasly has been, on his 50th Grand Prix start, had his patience rather tested this weekend. Ted Kravitz by the power unit.
Well, it sounded like a bag of bits when it came down the start-finish line, Crofty. It was banging and popping like something that had too much fuel in the overrun. Yeah, so growling all the way through, and he's in the garage. He's nominally
challenge as well. We're on board with Lance Stroll at the moment, and he's the first one to go for a flying lap in this final Q3 session. All 10 drivers bar Pierre Gasly are out on the track, and that just looked a little bit clunky over the curbs.
He took plenty of curb, but he got the throttle on nice and early, and the car would stick with it, thankfully.
Aggression from Lance Stroll. He's done a 26.2 during the middle sector on this particular lap. We'll see where that stacks up to the rest, as Sebastian Vettel puts in a 26.5 through that middle sector in the Ferrari, and Hamilton absolutely flying, a 25.8 in the middle sector for him. Stroll goes wide, but not too wide around the final corner. 1:14.6 is the benchmark that they're all aiming for, and it's Sebastian Vettel in his Ferrari that crosses the line next. A long way behind, 6/10 off the racing point. Hamilton next across the line. Hamilton 13s, and the track records are tumbling here. A 1:14.5 was the previous lap record from Max Verstappen to 1:13.6 now. Valtteri Bottas a 1:13.9. It's Mercedes 1 and 2, Hamilton clear by about 3/10. Here comes Lando Norris next across the line, goes fourth fastest overall. Decent lap there from Lando Norris. Sergio Perez can only go fifth fastest, and Lance Stroll is the leader of the 2 racing points.
And there's a quicker lap in it for Stroll as well. He was a little bit wide through 13 and 14.
And Sergio Perez has had his lap time deleted for track limits, as well as Sainz goes fifth fastest, and now Verstappen puts his car, his Red Bull, up onto the second row alongside Lance Stroll, who of course is the youngest man ever to start on the front row in Formula. And hope that Valtteri Bottas doesn't improve whatsoever. Hamilton 3/10 clear of his teammate, the man who was on pole here in his debut in the Hungarian Grand Prix in 2007, followed it up a year later with another pole, had to wait till 2012 for his next one. 2013, both winning from pole in those 2 years. He took pole in 2015, 2018 as well, and going for a 7th pole position here.
We saw a little tweak on the front wing there, a little adjustment as Vettel goes out on a new set of tyres, and yeah, you're allowed to do that in Parc Fermé. You can change your tyre pressure as long as you don't come down below the minimum required, which are actually quite low here, 20 psi front, 18 psi rear.
That's it for us, right?
Just hang fire.
Does he mean that's it, there's no more pace, or that's it, we can't go out again? Of Norris and Sainz maybe challenge Verstappen, who seems to have engine issues and struggles that might keep him in that garage for that much longer. He's nearly a second down now. Sebastian Vettel, it might be a personal best lap, but is it really going to move in that much? Sebastian Vettel and DRS wide open, goes fourth fastest, ahead of Verstappen, Norris and Sainz. He's in the top 5 at the moment. He's laid down the gauntlet then, and he's produced as good a lap as he possibly can, and Charles Leclerc, his teammate, pretty much matching him through the first and second sectors. Everybody out on track, except, well, actually not many out on track. Stroll, Vettel, Leclerc, Perez, the only 4 drivers on the circuit at the moment. They might think, those 4, that these are the better of the conditions. He goes fifth fastest to Charles Leclerc. Sebastian Vettel, his teammate, manages to out-qualify him. It's 2-1. If it stays that way to Vettel this season, and the rest all coming out now.
Painful for Verstappen if he doesn't get out again. And it looks like he is.
Yeah, they're waiting for everyone to file past so he can get out again.
They were a used set of tyres that were on Verstappen's car just then.
They didn't look very shiny, that is for sure. Lance Stroll has gone third fastest on his latest lap. His teammate Sergio Perez, who had a lap time deleted, goes fourth fastest, second row, locked out for Racing Point at the moment, and they are very, very happy with that, and so they should be. In the last 2 years here, Racing Point didn't start higher than 16th at this track. All the cars knocked out in Q1 in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I lost a bit in turn 1 because there was a bit of drizzle on the track.
So there is a bit of rain about. And Racing Point struck at the right time there with 1 minute and 3/4 to go.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a Division 1, Division 2 going on, haven't we? The Mercedes are well out front in a league of their own. So this is just a straightforward duel for pole position between Hamilton and Bottas, for Hamilton with the upper hand at the moment. Mercedes, Racing Point, Ferrari, and then the lone Red Bull that's going to go on used tyres.
Pole has only won 2 of the last 6 races here at the Hungaroring, but the last 5 Grand Prix have all been won from pole position prior to this weekend. So pole very, very important here, and Hamilton on his lap through turn 2 as Bottas now starts his final flying lap. It's between the 2 Mercedes drivers who have shared the pole positions so far in 2020 as we come up towards turn 4, and Hamilton hasn't improved. That was impressive, but he's 200ths down on his best time through that first sector. And Valtteri Bottas, we wait to see what his first sector time will be, because we watch the track and we watch the clock. Bottas has matched Hamilton, needs to improve by a couple of tenths.
I've never seen a racing car stick like that through turn 4. That was extraordinary.
Must be an amazing experience in the cockpit as Lewis Hamilton sets a purple sector through the middle sector. That's bad news for Valtteri Bottas. He's trying to play catch-up here, but the gap keeps getting extended by his teammate Lewis Hamilton, going for a 7th pole position here at the Hungaroring. It's a track that he's won 7 times at before as well. Hamilton on provisional pole then extends his advantage, and now we look to Valtteri Bottas coming out of the final corner. The only man that can deny Lewis Hamilton pole position today. Bottas crosses the line. He's a 10th out, and Hamilton is on pole in Hungary once again.
Brilliant. What a car that must be to drive. And they're the only cars that can get to that white line on the inside here. They're the only car with half a chance of getting where they want to be.
So can Max Verstappen spoil the sea of pink that is row 2 at the moment? Verstappen, last year's pole sitter, starts only 7th on the grid in 2020. Ferrari have their best qualifying of the season so far. Sebastian Vettel keeps up his record of qualifying in the top 5 every year since 2008. And well done to Racing Point, who've locked out row 2.
Get in there, Lewis. Nice work, mate. You found your mojo there.
He does rather like it here. Lewis Hamilton tomorrow will try and equal Michael Schumacher's record of the most wins here at the Hungaroring. Last year's race was the only time in the last 5 years that the team didn't lock out at the front row here. Hamilton in Hungary is hungry for success, and he can feed off another pole once more. Racing Point with row 2. Lance Stroll for the 2nd week in a row out-qualifies his teammate Sergio Perez as well.
Yeah, and I have to say Lance Stroll had that covered. He looked like the slightly faster driver of those two. That you know, they had the 2nd row of the grid. It was theirs to lose, and they didn't lose it. And they start on the medium compound tyres. It gives row 3 behind them 2 or 3 metres of extra grip off the line. As long as they can fend that off, they're in with a great chance of a staggering result tomorrow racing. I can hear a new medical problem. COVID elbow. That's going to be coming, isn't it? It's going to hurt, gets your shoulder, a bit like a tennis elbow.
Severely bruised, yes. Lando Norris qualifies 8th for the first time this year outside of the top 6, but once again out-qualifying his teammate Carlos Sainz. Pierre Gasly didn't run a lap in that Q3 session, but will start in the top 10 unless they have to make Lewis Hamilton. I know Paul di Resta absolutely delighted to be down there as well. He's going to be talking to the drivers as they head out of the garage and back into the daylight once again.
Lewis, you had a pretty dominant pole position last week in Austria. You've come here, just flashed up in that screen. That's your 90th pole position in Formula 1.
Crazy.
What does that mean?
I have to pinch myself. It just doesn't register. It's quite humbling, to be honest, because I get to work with an incredible group of people who without I wouldn't be able to have the opportunity to do so. So massively thankful to everyone back home and the guys here that do such an amazing job. And Valtteri doesn't make it easy for me at all, so it requires absolute perfection when it comes to doing laps, and qualifying like that is one of the things I enjoy most.
Watching on boards, the car looks on rails. You're connected with it, aren't you?
I'm definitely connected with it. She's definitely not on rails, but I'm sure it looks like that, maybe compared to perhaps some other people. But it was really nicely hooked up today, and not far off the rails. So.
Valtteri, all the way to the end there. You just missed out by a tenth, but I guess you must be pretty happy to qualify in the front row.
Yeah, of course. I saw in FP3 that it's going to be a close battle with Lewis at least, and I think as a team we were again on really strong level, pretty far from other teams, which is obviously good for us. My laps were okay. At the end, the Q3 lap was actually really good, but I just really couldn't go faster. So, you know, Lewis did a great job today to get the pole. As always, it's going to be a bit of a drag race into turn 1 between us, so I look forward to that.
Lance, congratulations. Cars looked very good this weekend.
Thank you.
I guess you must be pretty delighted where you are. I mean, you've showed signs this year of being up the front. It's not worked out, but you've got the job done today.
I didn't hear much what you said, but
basically saying, you know, you've been showed signs this year of being very quick. You eventually got that done, and you must be pretty delighted today how it's went.
Yeah, thank you. No, I mean, yeah, very, very happy at the moment. Yeah, the car was really strong all the way throughout qualifying, throughout the whole weekend, really. I mean, we've had the pace, and it was just about piecing it together during that qualifying session. So yeah, really great job by all the guys. I'm really pleased with the session, and now sights set on tomorrow, and going to try and grab some big points.